It's Wednesdays with Dylan, except it's on a Thursday, and I blame me because of touring the state. And here's your first question of the day, Dylan. Have you ever gone on a road trip and forgotten your power cord to your computer and have not been in a situation where you could buy a substitute?
No, why can't you buy a substitute?
Because I was in a small town and all the stores had closed.
There's no Apple Store?
No. In some of the towns I was in, the answer to that is no, sir.
I've forgotten a power cord, yeah, but I guess been fortunate enough to be able to replace it pretty quickly.
Yeah, so I was not in that situation, although the backup power cord I have is here in the office, which doesn't do me any good when I'm 700 miles away. So so I had to mash a bunch of shows together and try to edit it, and you get down to like 9% on the power source of the computer, and you're like, yeah, I better file everything. So
I will say this though about that. So a lot of times what I will do, at least I was doing when I was more regularly covering like the Red Bulls and NYCFC, to give myself my own sort of extra deadline, I would leave my power cord home. So, like, if I had to file a story, I'm like, all right, well, I got 20% left. I better hurry up and do this, or else I'm, whatted. So,
okay.
It was an extra little push for me. It was good.
Got it. All right. Now I have to remember that one. But I've also been told that maybe I should just pack my separate power cord in my bag in case and take it with me on the road. But, Dylan, thank you once again for pushing this back to Thursday now that we're back to our high school schedules and our soccer schedules. First things first.
Yep.
How much of the game did you watch, the All-Star Game and All-Star Weekend festivities, did you watch in general?
So I did watch the entire game. I watched probably 70% of the skills competition. I'm upset that I missed Goalie Wars. I thought that would be like the finale. How do you not make that the last event?
How do you not make that available over the air on TV instead of being?
It wasn't.
I mean, it was like in the commercial breaks. I thought it was supposed to be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. I just missed it. I thought I missed it. I thought it'd be the last thing they would show. That's the best. That's the best thing for skills competition.
And this is why because I was on the road and they're saying, well, no, it's only going to be there for everybody who's in house, and so they'll watch it in house. And for those of us watching on TV, you can't see it.
Oh, I don't know. But so I saw a lot of the skills competition as well. So
okay,
I missed I didn't see the MLS Next Pro AllStar Game, but yeah. So I guess I caught a good amount.
All right. So then let me ask you this: if you were major domo of All-Star Week,
yeah.
Would you, and obviously adding Goalie Wars is something you and I absolutely, and for everybody to watch, that to me is a no-brainer. Are there any other flashbacks or things that you would add to the skills competition, or is the skills competition just kind of like, yeah, I know, it's kind of like what we have with the NHL All-Star Game where you have all of that stuff the day before. Is it the same kind of thing there for you?
I will say, though, I think one takeaway that I had is I thought MLS did it better than the NHL, because there were times when I would watch the NHL skills competition and it would just drag and drag and drag. And I feel like this didn't. Like, they were pretty good in keeping to a time limit and only having a certain amount of people compete. Right. So that I thought was a positive. The only time I thought that it started to get a little bit draggy was at the end when they were trying to get the final crossbar, but then there was also a little bit of drama with that, right? Like, it was like a sudden death. So I think the format's pretty good. I do like some of the other things. I'd love to know maybe who has the hardest shot, right? Is that is that something we could do but not drag it on? Maybe kind of already have an idea and then just do that portion of it.
I like that.
And like freestyle, like that could also maybe potentially get boring, but like who would be the best trick guy? Like the different sort of moves you can make.
Okay, so kind of like the dunk competition, and you turn it into like freestyle skills.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But some again, I could also see how that could also potentially drag on. So maybe that's the reason why those things aren't part of it. But
No, I'm with you. I like the idea of the imagination for getting a ball in the back of the net, and then you have judges hold up the cards like we have with the NBA All-Star Game with tens and such. I like that.
Yeah, and plus you can get Walker Zimmerman to use his son Tucker, right, as a part of that skills, like freestyle or like a breakaway competition in the NHL, right? Because he was clearly the biggest star of All-Star festivities, right? Because he got more airtime, I think, than anybody.
Well, as you should, and when you bring in those who can assist you in that way, I think that's got to be something that can get you bonus points. I mean, if you're Walker Zimmerman and you have an aide with you that happens to be cute and young, and everybody will sit there and go, "Oh, look, he's got help." I think that will give you that extra boost when it comes to doing something in that regard. When it comes to the game itself against Liga MX, I was looking at social media after the match. Liga MX loses 2-1. Liga MX fans were going berserk about losing to Major League Soccer, and folks are even drastic to the point where I'm not going to a Liga MX game ever again, and I'm a season ticket holder. Sound familiar? But this is getting serious now with Leagues Cup coming up around the corner, and Liga MX fans are getting hot about losing to Major League Soccer now.
Yeah, and I feel like what's great for the other side of that coin is unless I'm wrong, I haven't checked as much, but I'm not hearing a lot of that chest thumping on the other side, right? Like, and maybe that's the Champions League win for Seattle, or just maybe just general expectation of the understanding from the MLS fan that the level has been raised. But I don't hear, like in years past when it would be like, the big name European team against the All-Stars and the All-Stars would win, it would always be like, well, look, that shows how great the level is. But I don't really hear that today. And I think that's a good thing for MLS, right? Because there's the belief and expectation that it is rising and it is getting to Liga MX levels. And you're right. I think a big talking point, and we can get into this because I'm not sure what the answer is, but a big talking point you heard with Don Garber's interview at halftime with Taylor Twellman was maybe this isn't happening. This iteration of the All-Star Game doesn't happen next year or maybe even beyond because of Leagues Cup being such a massive thing. I've loved it. It's my favorite format to date, but you could potentially obviously water down the rivalry by going to that well too much. So two things. I think, yes, you are 100% right. I think it sets up really well for Leagues Cup and Champions League as well. But also, I'm not sure what the future is of the All-Star Game, because we've seen so many different, East-West. I think even early on, it was like U.S. versus the world, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously the big name Manchester United, Barcelona's, Bayern Munich's of the world against the MLS All-Stars. I'm not sure what would make it super interesting and also still have that bit of a bite that we saw in a match like last night's.
All right, well then, okay, so then you're in charge. What would you do? I mean, because we're in that delicate balance now of, okay, Leagues Cup, that's been great with Liga MX, but now with Leagues Cup, it almost gets lost in the sauce a little bit, and it's almost that idea. It's like, okay, it gets lost in all of this competition. It ends up being just another game, or being viewed as such, even though it's an all-star game. It almost gets viewed as a part, and it's almost secondary to Liga MX here. And we've seen the things in the past where you bring in the marquee club, and then you have like 78 substitutions allowed, and it ends up being a watered-down version until the final 15 minutes or so, and then everybody's chasing after a win. I mean, Major League Soccer is in a bit of an interesting position here about trying to have this showcase. And it's more than just the showcase of the league itself. It's, once again, of Next Pro and all these other elements that are attached to it. It's a delicate situation here now with Leagues Cup coming up.
Yeah, because I think if you do anything inside the league, they could talk that it'll be a game, but it won't really feel it, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's East-West, who cares, right?
Yeah,
Like what are you
exactly.
playing for?
Yeah.
Um,
It just
I,
means
I
more. You're playing for home field advantage in the.
I joked. I was working the desk last night, and I joked on our Slack that the answer will be media versus MLS because that will absolutely continue to have a bite, right? Like if you got media taking on the MLS All Stars, you could be sure that a couple of those All Stars will get their tackles in on their favorite media members, right?
Yeah, well, and then it's like everybody's sitting there going, "Okay, where's Lawless? I need the outlet pass. I need to get it. I need to get it to Lawless as quickly as possible, or to Jamie Watson or somebody like that."
I don't like what Doug wrote there. I'm going to go 2 foot tackle him.
Man, and the thing is that could the players sit there and appoint media members to be on this roster? So it's like mandatory appearances. Like if the players are being appointed by the league, then the league players can sit there and appoint the media members that they want to sit there, and they have to be on the roster. You can't just sit there and it's like, oh, I've got an injury, it can't be there. You have to appoint another media member to do it. It's like mandatory that you've got to be a part of the game day 25 if you're a media member, right?
Yeah, but I mean, in all I don't.
Yeah, see,
I was literally thinking about it coming in. Like, I don't know what the answer is. Like, because what's separated at least these two MLS All-Star games from other All-Star competitions, right? Which are just really boring. I watch the NHL skills competition. I don't watch the game.
Yeah,
I watch the NBA skills competition. I don't watch the game, right? Like, I don't even watch the MLB All-Star Game, right? Like, I absolutely do not watch the what is it in football, right? Pro Bowl. Like,
no.
Who cares?
No.
So what will draw the viewer, and what's drawn the viewer here, what's made it unique is that it does play as a game, right? We saw that last night when there's a questionable, to me, PK,
yeah,
right? The Mexican players were right in the face of the official, right? Like, that doesn't happen in the NBA, right? Like, no one's going to the hoop and getting hit hard in the All-Star game, right? Where it's 210 to 195.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is that'll keep that competitiveness, but not have it MLS Liga MX. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a great question. It's a good, I'm sure it's been discussed in boardrooms and in Zoom meetings at league headquarters for a while now.
So you thought that, and I thought it was a soft call as well. And so we're absolutely agreement that, I mean, from one angle, it didn't even look like there was a whole lot of contact. It's like, as you had the defender leaning in, and then it's like, oh, he's there, and then it's over the top. So I thought it was a soft PK call. I
was really hoping it would have gone to VAR, just like the first time in All-Star game history that we go to the monitor for VAR. That would have been great.
When you look at, now that we've gotten the MLS stuff behind us and now we're sprinting toward the weekend, when it comes to the weekend's matches, I mean, you've got some interesting ones with some teams, and we know the craziness right now with the playoff chase with the teams that are above the bar and below the bar. What games for you stand out this weekend for subplot when it comes to the weekend here?
Well, you've got Philly, Chicago, right? So Philly coming off a tough loss to Cincinnati, Chicago finding its form. Also, Kasper Šivilko goes back to Philly. What kind of reception will that be, right? Like, this is a fan, not this specific fan base, but the Philly fans in general who have thrown snowballs at Santa Claus, right? So will they embrace?
They'll throw soccer balls at Šivilko. They'll grab the little.
Will they embrace him? Will they not? To be seen. So I think that's one I think that I like. I'm not worried about Philly, and it's a loss. I give more credit to Cincinnati there for their biggest win in their club's history, but I think we could kind of see a little bit. How real is Chicago right now, right? So a good showing there, I think, could be interesting.
They're at a plus 365 too.
I don't even know.
They're at a plus 360. I mean, they're at a plus 365, and Union are
I think
minus
it's absolutely. I know there's sponsorships and all that kind of. I think it's crazy to bet on MLS. I really do.
Especially with how difficult it is to win on the road this year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I mean, you mentioned Cincinnati. Cincinnati's got Atlanta United, and both of those teams are on right there in that madness, right there in and around the playoff bar in the East.
That's another match I like a lot too, right? Where Atlanta, perhaps Sandra Gutman saves the season, or at least gives it a lifeline. Mm-hmm. But now you've got to go to Cincinnati, and it's crazy because I feel like in any other time in the history of these two clubs, you don't even question this game. You're like, Atlanta's winning. At worst, it's a draw. But Cincinnati, obviously, being one of the feel good stories of the year, I think that one also does have some interest for me. Even like LA, Vancouver, right? Like these are two teams desperate for 3 points. Vancouver's not very good on the road. LA's not very good anywhere. So
true.
That has a lot of interest, and I like the 2 Sunday games as well. Nashville, it's crazy to think Nissan Stadium was a fortress, right? For them. They just would not lose there. And then they get this beautiful, amazing new stadium and the largest in the US and Canada. Mm-hmm. And they struggle there. It's mind boggling. And then Minnesota's on Portland on a pretty good run of form. And then Seattle RSL, right? So that's another one where Seattle, we all assume, they'll figure it out. They'll get above the line. They'll make the playoffs, but it's getting late. That was a tough loss for them in Atlanta. So I think that's a big game for them as well to push forward. They're home. They've got to win that game. And then also, you know what? Even going backwards a little bit, Toronto Portland I think has a lot of intrigue as well, right?
Are you going to take the over in that one?
I will take the over in goals and fouls.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's another one too that I think interest me for sure as well. Because they're two teams that have been able to score. Toronto is trying to push above that line. Portland has been playing well, so that should be a lot of fun too.
Well, and at the same time, this is going to be one of those midweek weekend for some, because by the next time that we catch up, you're going to have, Sunday. You're going to have a game on Tuesday. So LAFC and DC are going to go Saturday, Tuesday, and DC has to go to New England, and then they have to go all the way to LAFC. It's like, man, we ain't even coming home. It's like going from one end of the world to the other. Then by the time we catch back up, Atlanta United Red Bulls, Toronto at home again getting the Revs, NYC Charlotte, FC Dallas, Philly, Vancouver, and Colorado. And so you've got the 6 matches in the midweek getting ready for other stuff on the weekend. So, I mean, it's going to be, for me, for those 12 teams that are playing midweek next week, I want to see what the lineups look like and what the fallout is from the weekend and how that applies to those games in the midweek that are going to be crazy.
And it's interesting, right? Because you can't – the points are so precious, mm-hmm. you can't completely rotate a squad, right? Like, you've got to be very careful. You've got to manage minutes, obviously, but you've also got to be careful about how you rotate as well. So it's definitely a lot of interesting decisions to be made by these managers.
When you look at Toronto, and since we mentioned Toronto, let me go there. I mean, they're fun as hell to watch at home.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They are the Forrest Gump box of chocolates. I don't know what you're going to get with this bunch. The second that they have to check in for customs, the one thing they forget at customs is their offense. I mean, it's just like, it's great at BMO, but then the second they hop on a plane and have to come here to the continental United States, it's like we forgot something. It's like we forgot to pack something. Yeah, it's your offense. It's odd right now with that bunch.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think in general too, it's just a weird time for Toronto. It's definitely a time of transition. But in this game here, they are home, and they've shown at home the ability to score so many goals, and they get BMO rocking again, which I think was important, and I think too it's about relevance, where they've become relevant again in that market, right? It's a crowded market. Let's be honest, right? Like you've got a hockey team that's an original six. That's yeah. Or whatever you want to, all the jokes you could say about them, right? They're still one of the biggest teams if not the biggest team in Canada, right? A major market. You've got the Raptors, you've got the Blue Jays, you've got whatever their CFL team is. I feel bad for not knowing.
The Argos, Toronto Argonauts.
It is, right? The Argonauts, all right. So I think they're relevant again. They've gotten their Italian Canadian, all right, or Canadian Italian fan base up there excited, which is great because they weren't. They probably left after Javinko left. So, but now it's about results, and it's funny because this is again how insane I think MLS is. We had them dead and buried.
We did,
right?
Absolutely.
But in reality, they're right there. There's not many teams. I don't think when you look at the table, and this is what's going to make the end of the season so much fun, right? Like they're not that far out, right? Like I'm pulling up the standings now. Like
yep. Four out of the playoffs entirely, and six out of sixth, and seventh away from fifth right now.
So like in the West, I think it's fair to say Kansas City and San Jose and Houston are out.
Yeah.
But then you've got 4 teams below the line that are just literally a win away from going above the line, right? Like 3 points at max for Vancouver at 11th and Colorado at 10th. So that's a lot of teams still involved there. And in the East, it's 4 points for Toronto. And DC is the only team I think that we could certainly again say they're out with 22 points, so they're 8 below the line. But all those teams, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the East within 4 points of the line. That's crazy. That's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna really change that much. The way this league is, especially this year, I think with so much parity, like it's not gonna. I think we're gonna get to. It's still gonna be this way. I think going to decision day.
I think you're absolutely right. So it's 7 points separating 5 through 13. So 9 points separate 5 through 13. So if I could do math, 7 points, 9 teams, 5 through 13 in the East, and then in the West, if you say FC Dallas is your ceiling at 3, 6 points separating 3 through 11. So that's 9 teams. 6 points with anywhere from 9 to 11 matches to go. Yeah, so this is going to be certifiable. Have you purchased some kind of a seat belt to be there in the office with you to keep everything going on for the remainder of the year?
I should for sure, or have some padded walls or something.
We already have those, brother. We got those all over the place. What's going on with you these days? What is the written word, and what is up with Dylan Butler?
Just back to regular season action coming up on the weekend, and for OSDB Sports, I'm gonna have a fun look on Monday at. I'm calling it the American invasion of the English Premier League. Right, like we've had the British invasion back in the '60s musically, with the Who and the Beatles and the Stones. Etc. But I feel like now it's more than ever this American influence, if you will, on the English Premier League between owners, managers, certainly, and of course, I think we've had more players in bigger roles now than we've ever had before in the league. So I think I'm going to take a kind of jaunt through that and look at the different major American players in the English Premier League.
And they keep popping up all of a sudden. Matthew Hoppe is now on posters and things like that. And that's going to be a fun. Yeah. That's going to be a fun read. So that's I'm looking forward to that one. Dylan, as always, thanks for hanging out with us here on Wednesdays with Dylan, but on a Thursday because of high school sports this week. Thanks again, my friend.
All right, bud.